Hello.
Greetings, humans.
Thanks for coming back. Welcome back to Unsensational. This week's episode is brought to you by the letter
He for period care, porn, and pussy. Oh my. We have a lot to talk about today.
It's the triple threat. Cheers! I know, I don't know what to, because I want it to be quiet for a hot sec. That way you can edit it however you need to. But then after that, I'm like, when do we break?
That's fine. I temporarily forgot our third word, so that's why there was too long of a pause between pussy.
And pneumonia. Pterodactyl. What do we want to do today?
Try to take over the world.
Who's Pinky and who's Brain?
Can we switch each episode? I feel like that's a lot of weight to carry on our shoulders otherwise for either Pinky or the Brain.
I feel like I'm very Pinky, but I'm like an aggressive Pinky. And you are Brain 100%, but like with pearls.
I love how you keep mentioning that on social media. Like, it's my defining attribute. I just like to say, for the record, these are fake plastic pearls. Well, the way you keep talking about it, I should invest in a real pair.
It just cracks me. It's just something that cracks me up, because I do know that, at least when I've seen you before, and you're like, okay, like I just have to get in a good headspace of like getting ready, that you'll like put in pearl earrings. That way you're like, okay, like now it's time to do things. Like for some people that's putting on a bra, but for you, you're like, need my pearls.
It's true. I need earrings. Pearls are my like default. I'm sitting and even looking at my earring tree because I have that many earrings. I have a cute little 3-tier stand, almost like an afternoon tea stand. And that's how I feel ready for the day, is I put on a pair of earrings. That's how you know I'm going through a bad time in my life. The fact that I'm not wearing earrings.
Mm-hmm. So pearls don't match my aesthetic, and not that I have much of an aesthetic to protect. There's not much of one there.
You have your own aesthetic. Don't lie
but
to
I
the
like
people.
I like dingly ones. Like I have the ones that my aunt made for me, where like on one side it's a little fork and on the other it's a little knife and a little spoon. I like those. I like my skull guys. I have like little bird skulls. But I like the dangly things.
That's you falling into the women who love women stereotype of those handcrafted, unique, dangly earrings. I mean, I have several pairs. I have a pair of, granted they're holiday themed, so it probably doesn't really count, but I have a pair of ribbon candy, a pair of red bows with little jingle bells. I have witch hats with little feet coming out of the bottom of them.
That's cute.
But otherwise, my more like everyday style, I have a pair of Eiffel Tower earrings, calligraphy nibs, and teacups and saucers.
You're pretty gay.
I hear ya. I hear ya on that front. I know our styles are. That was actually a pretty good personality description of the two of us, our earrings.
Works out well. I like it.
Notice how we both had something. Jo had the food-related piece, but I had the drink-related piece for tea. We both love a good meal and a good drink.
Life's about balance. I also really like, it's fun to wear my little silverware ones, because if anything, if I wear them the correct way, then it makes my face the plate, which really just works out.
That's
works out really well.
I like that. I thought you were going to say, this is how I picked up a girl with my fork and silver and spoon earrings by making some joke about your face being a plate and about you having tacos later. I thought that was the pickup line you were going to use.
I wish I had that kind of game, Catherine. Have you ever seen me pull anything like that off? No. No.
But now you can.
Hey.
As long as they don't listen to this podcast, we're safe.
Please
They'll
don't.
never know your secrets. What are we going to talk about next? Pussy hats? Sex education?
We can. Oh, yeah, let's do that. We can jump over to the pussy hats. There's another women's march coming up in Denver. Unsurprising. I think a lot of cities have been doing more than one or continuing to do them. There's a lot of controversy because some people who were spearheading the women's march were pretty anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
I am not well versed in what was said or done, but I am taking the word of people who were not welcome in the space because of their backgrounds or ethnicities or religion. And that's enough for me. I know that there's been a lot of division with the Women's March, who the march is for, because, for instance, where I am, there have been a lot of women and children swooped up by ICE and detained indefinitely or just for deportation. But because that didn't necessarily affect the lives of predominantly white women who showed up to the Women's March, the Pussy March, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of frustration saying that, why haven't you been showing up to the Black Lives Matter protest? Because Black women are also having a shit time right now. Why aren't you showing up to the anti-ICE protest? Because any immigrant woman is having a hard time right now, especially darker skinned and brown immigrant women. So I know that there was a lot of animosity there, and that was something that, I don't know, I wish it hadn't been taken over by people who are touting white feminism. Not that, and this is where, to create some clarification, white feminism doesn't mean that you can't be a feminist because you're white, or that because you're white, you're a bad feminist. What it does mean is that you have so much privilege from being white that you are not able to see other people's struggles clearly. And because you aren't looking for them, or because you haven't been exposed to them, you try to solve problems, but it's negative help. It creates more problems for people that aren't you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I was frustrated with the pussy hats at the Women's March because it felt like a direct callback to what we're constantly telling men, that women aren't. Women aren't just walking pussies. But to make something fun and to show that you were going to have fun, they made pussy hats. And they're pink. And I don't know about you, but not every pussy I've seen has been pink. One. Mm-hmm. Two, there are women who don't have pussies. And also, just because you have a pussy doesn't mean that you're a woman.
True.
So I think that something that started off as like, this pussy grabs back, which was a showing of like, I'm a woman and I would not appreciate being grabbed in that way. Don't do that. It started getting pushed as this, I don't know, this bejeweled, Etsy, gentrified feminism of how cute can we make it and still get the point across. I have frustrations with that, and I'm worried about how that's going to affect the way that white women show up for other minority women if they can't make it pretty and do some light decorating.
As you were talking about the pussy hats, it reminded me of International Women's Day, which is in March, I believe. March 8th, I think. And there's been in 2020, the theme was to kind of hold out your arms, hovering above one another so that each palm was kind of at the elbow of the other, in essence, to make an equal sign. And that was kind of the theme. An equal world is a enabled world, kind of equal for all. But despite what I just said for their theme for International Women's Day, if you look at their logo, it is traditionally that female sign of the circle and then kind of the little cross beneath it. And I remember having this discussion with some folks that were like, that in and of itself is exclusionary to refer to that as kind of like the female sex for what is identified as being a woman. And there was some of those conversations we were having at work as part of our diversity and inclusion. And while some of those conversations were happening amongst us, trying to figure out how to plan the event and what logos should we put up to make sure everyone feels inclusive, at the other end of that spectrum, we had a couple of male colleagues email back to us asking if they could participate in International Women's Day because we were hosting various like raffles and quizzes, and they thought it was only for women. No, it's not. It's for everyone to participate in, to make it a more inclusive and equal space, and to champion for peoples who are at a disadvantage, and just to increase visibility on some issues that are unique to women. And I was just flabbergasted at that. I'll say right now, the fact that some people thought they just weren't allowed to participate or that it just wasn't for them. So I'm just gonna not pay attention.
But that's an issue that you and I have seen in so many different areas. Like, to relate it to something that you and I have both shared, homophobia. Homophobia is not a queer person problem. It's not a homo problem. Homophobia, I mean, it comes from a lot of places. But just to go with an opposite here, it's a straight person
Yep.
problem. Anti-Black racism is a white person problem. The subjugation of women is a man's problem. And I don't mean that every man creates this problem, but I mean that in this instance, the reason it is so important for men to learn about women who have done important things in history, women who are doing things that are important right now, reminding people that women are people. The reason that is so important is because if a man can finally get that and see it and understand that there's personhood and humanness and an identity and importance here, perhaps the next time a man mouths off to a woman in a way that is entirely inappropriate, rather than the woman being by herself, perhaps that's a time to ally yourself in the situation. Okay, to verb it and speak up. Because if somebody already doesn't like women, they're not going to listen to a woman say, "We're important." We need men to do that. We need men to help. It's a man's problem. Yes, you need to take part in this. And again, not only should you want to, not only can you like it's got to be you should. You should take part in this. Absolutely.
Exactly what you were talking about reminded me of something that I saw on your social media account recently.
Oh.
White supremacy won't die until white people see it as a white issue they need to solve rather than a black issue they need to empathize with.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And it goes back to that niceness thing that we've always talked about. White people want to be nice so bad, especially as women. And I'm not going to give white women an out on this because white women are the people that elected Trump, and I'm not going to pass by that. What I will say is that women, since we're little, are always told to be nice, regardless of race. I think we're taught to be nice and accommodating. And I think that whiteness definitely talks about niceness as one of the most important things you can do. Oh, hey, be nice, be nice, be nice. Don't fight. It's okay. Let's use our words.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lil Timmy's a fascist. I'm done using my words. Like, Lil Timmy's going to make me go back on parole.
It's also the same concept for niceness about, when maybe you are in that situation and it's someone kind of making a sexist or racist remark, and maybe, you've had years of it, and today you've just had enough. It's already a bad day, and you snap back at them. And they're immediately like, whoa, she's being kind of bitchy, or immediately write it off. Again, that's a moment to be an ally, to step up and say something. So it's not just, once again, someone's validation of a stereotype that they have, but also there comes a point where you're just sick and tired of being nice. Did you watch that video that I think became viral a while back, but it was 10 hours of walking in New York City as a woman? It's a fairly young, attractive woman in a black t-shirt, black jeans, walking 10 hours. And I'm looking up some information about it now so I can get the facts. And it was a 24-year-old, released in 2014, and it 108 instances of catcalls and street harassment, of just hello, good morning comments on her appearance, attempts to initiate conversation, angry remarks, and men following her for several minutes. And I'm sure there are some people that will watch that and think that's an exaggeration.
The first time I remember really being followed, I think I was 12 or 13. But the first time I remember someone saying something to me that I didn't understand, but I did not like the tone, and I only later understood what the words meant, I was 11.
Mm.
Yeah, I was a kiddo when these things started. And they continue. And that's what's scary is, it starts so young for some women, and then it just continues on and on and on. And that's not even taking into account queer women who look either obviously queer or prefer to be androgynous,
Yep.
or non-binary people, or people who, dress on purpose to put a lot of genders forward. That's not even talking about the kind of harassment that you get for being a queer femme presenting person or a queer woman. That's just womanhood.
Yeah.
That doesn't even touch into the, hey, can I just watch you guys? Like, just kiss just a little bit. Or my friends and I are having a party. It's going to be me, a couple of friends, but if you guys wanted to stay the night, we could always do something fun together. I'd like to at least watch. No, thank you. Please go back under the rock from which you crawled.
I feel that, at least me as a woman, there's always this fine line to walk between, you're so sick of it, what can you say to stand up for yourself, versus, am I positive that I'm in a safe space? And is this somewhere where I can engage in this conversation, or I'll be backed up, or I'll be okay? And I know we're talking about this, and it's very fitting as we're recording this episode on October 6th, which is the anniversary of Matthew Shepard, who was beaten and tortured and left to die in Wyoming, and he was a gay student.
This is one of the first hate crimes that I learned about it for the queer community, not in general. But it's hard.
It happened in 1998. For anyone who thinks this is no longer an issue or we're bringing up old news about what happened in Laramie, Wyoming, I would like to point you to the presidential nominations of this past year in 2020, where all of the states named their who would be receiving their votes for the president, and it was often split by Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. Matthew Shepard's parents announced the votes for the state of Wyoming. So no, this isn't by any means ancient history or no longer relevant to what's happening today, because it still is.
Absolutely. And I think that when we look at someone in the community and we start looking at, how they identified who they were in the community, you can also start to look at life expectancy. We have related but also separate. The murders of trans people in 2020 surpassed the total for 2019, and they have in just 7 months. At least 28 trans people have been murdered, or at least had like suspicious deaths so far. Those are ones that have been reported. Those are ones where the person has actually been identified as a trans person instead of someone just wiping off whatever they thought was unimportant. From what I know and from what I've read, and it may have changed since I last checked, but I think the life expectancy of trans women in the United States, specifically, I believe trans women of color, it's slightly less. It's about 35 years old. Yeah. Yeah. So it's an everyone problem. And again, there's this thing where transphobia is a cis person thing. And I am excited to know that there are some states that are looking to ban entirely the gay panic or trans panic defense. I hope they do. I hope every single case where people have used trans or gay panic is looked at again, because it never should have been used as a defense. I have had people hit on me that I haven't wanted to. I've had people make advances that I haven't wanted to, and haven't killed them. I have been getting physical in the nice way with people, and there were things that were unexpected that happened. Sometimes I decided that that was the end of the evening. Sometimes I didn't. But that's kind of like being an adult. Like, hey, I'm okay with this. I'm not okay with this. This is where my boundaries are. Let's respect those. Great, thank you. So it's a current problem for everyone in our community. And my hope is that we start to see the lifespans of trans people get longer and longer. That'd be really nice. I would love to see more trans elders. We have lesbian elders. We've got them. We've got gay elders. We have drag queen elders. We have so many people in the community that either have known their identity and then they've grown old with it, or have finally gotten their identity and found it or known it later in their life. But I would like to see more trans elders. Keep these people alive, please. Please, cis people. Love the trans people. Treasure them. Protect them.
When I first heard the term gay panic, I only knew it from a like positive cutesy side of I'm a woman and I think the barista at Starbucks was hitting on me because she commented on my rainbow earrings made out of clay, and ooh, I went into a gay panic. However,
Ah,
that is not at all what this is about. I know
no,
you
no.
outlined it, but for other members in our audience who may be very naive on this topic, it
I
is,
see.
as Jo said, the defendant claims, my source is Wikipedia here, that they acted in a state of violent temporary insanity, claiming assault or murder because of unwanted same-sex sexual advances, that the
Mhm.
same-sex advances were so offensive or frightening that they were provoked into reacting or were temporarily insane. Again, something that you would think, oh, we've already gotten past that. That can't still possibly be a thing. No, you're wrong, is always the story when it comes to LGBTQ rights. In 2018, it was proposed by a senator and representative in Massachusetts, which would ban gay and trans panic defense at the national level. That bill died. And just in 2020, that's this year, folks, was it banned in several states: New Jersey, Washington, and Colorado.
That's embarrassing.
We have many more states than just 3. For those playing at home.
That's not a great amount. It's baffling to me that that's a thing, considering that I mean, that can be used regardless of how you identify. If you think that someone who's your same gender is hitting on you and you don't want them to, and you attack them, you can use that defense. I mean, that it's possible. And so I want to know if we have that, can we have a straight panic? Because I think any, or maybe just a panic, maybe that's just what I want for people like me. Just a panic defense where, like, if someone's hitting on me and I don't want them to, and I happen to assault them, I can use it. I'm just kidding. That is not something that I actually want. I just think that it's absurd that it's gay panic and trans panic. I'm baffled. I'm embarrassed that these things exist. Like, it's embarrassing to be in the United States. It's also embarrassing to be in the United States because it's possible that a piece of legislation that's only about 5 years old, a ruling that's only 5 years old, could get overturned. Hey, Catherine, what's that? What's that thing that went to the Supreme Court that might be happening? It's very exciting. Not.
Same-sex marriage
Yeah.
and striking it down. You sent me a TikTok about things that are true that don't actually make sense. Trump announced he was running for president before same sex marriage was allowed federally. Everyone stop and angrily simmer with that for a moment. Donald Trump announced he was running for the presidency longer than same sex marriage has been allowed federally.
Mm-hmm.
Also, for the record, it's not just those 3 states that have banned gay and trans panic defense. A couple of other states have. We have a total of 11 in the United States. So don't mean to offend for any of the others. It was California first in 2014, Illinois in 2017, Rhode Island in 2018. They banned it. And in 2019, we had Connecticut, Hawaii, Maine, Nevada, and New York. The former point still stands. While 11 is greater than 3, It is significantly less than all the states that we have in the United States of America.
Look, neither of us are like solid mathematicians, but we can both recognize that. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to think that I feel like there are those dumb laws that are everywhere. Like I think technically in Denver, it's illegal to loan your vacuum cleaner to your next door neighbor. Like just dumb
Yeah.
laws like that. Like who took the time and money to put that on the books? And why should we now take the time and money to take it off the books? Like who put the time and money into that being their case? I panicked because they were gay.
And yet we all very easily, readily agree at some point in time in the past that it's illegal for you to loan your vacuum cleaner to your neighbor. But
Right.
yet something, as you keep mentioning, something is seemingly obvious and no nonsense. You don't even have to think twice about it for the fact that, oh, I claim a temporary insanity because getting hit on by someone who's the same gender as me is just so repulsive and offensive that that's actually allowed to stand up in court.
The logic doesn't work in my brain. Like I try to get through it and it just doesn't work because my brain automatically, well, yes, it's important to be able to say that certain instances do stand on their own. And for anything, I'm trying to relate this enough in a way for my brain to understand it, to be like, okay, who would be hitting on me to the point where I would want to attack them instead of flee? And so I think part of that comes from, being a man. Okay, so if I were a man and someone was hitting on me so aggressively that I had to assault them, like is that fear? Or like is that because they feel insulted because they assume that all gay men are like diet women, somehow effeminate, which means that if you were into it, you would also be effeminate, which means that you're not a man, which means that you're less than? Or is this cycle that they liked it and panicked? That last piece I really don't like. I have a really tough time saying that all homophobes are closeted queers. All homophobes and all transphobes are just afraid because they like these things.
I feel like that's a very common logical fallacy to fall
Mm,
into. That's really not
yeah.
unheard of. I think in part because we've made that a story
Mhm.
sometimes of like it's something to overcome this internalized homophobia that you have to realize your true sense of self. So that when that happens, people will often write it off, I guess, as a joke or just not even take it seriously.
We went to college with someone who was very homophobic, and later in his time there did come out and said, "Yes, I was raised a certain way and I was ignorant and afraid, and I think I was so staunchly against things because I saw them in myself." I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I am saying that like that's not the source of all of it. Sometimes it's just lack of education, lack of exposure. I don't know, indoctrination of any kind can also lead to these opinions. But I think that just by saying that, by default, oh, well, he wishes he was like, no, maybe he doesn't. Oh, well, they wish that they were gay. No, but they might not. They might not be gay. They might not be queer. They might not be bi. They might not be trans. They might not be any of these things. It might just be that for 30 years of their life, they've had someone saying, these people are evil. These people hurt children. These people are deviants. They're ruining the world. And when you have that from when you're a child all the way grown up, it creates like a cesspool of negativity around anything. It can do a lot of damage to what it means to come out if you assume that everyone who is a homophobe has yet to come out. I don't think that we can try to pull all those stories together. I don't think that everyone who's in the closet like hates everyone else in the closet. I was in the closet, but I was like, I love everyone in here. What's in your brain?
No, I was just gonna try to come in with a positive note, as I know that we've already discussed Halloween and how Halloween is for the gays, but Joe let me know about this extra special secret that's happening in 2020. And we are going to have, get ready, everyone, a blue moon on October. Literally once in a blue moon. The last time we had a blue moon on Halloween, like we're going to have now in 2020, was 1944. World War II, people.
There's a lot happening. Not only is there a blue moon, but then Halloween also falls on daylight savings. So we get 2 extra hours of Halloween. Well, it's technically November 1st, but it's like the night of, so like.
This may finally be the day that I stay up for 24 straight hours. Having never done that, it sounds like there's too many good things going on this day for me to possibly pass up on.
You gotta. This is the opportunity. Anything that you've ever said, like that only happens once in a blue moon. Whatever it is, make it happen.
Do it on this day.
Make it happen. Mm-hmm. What else are you going to do on Halloween? There's nothing to do. Go ahead and go. Whatever it is, make it happen.
If you're of legal drinking age, before the rest of the world figured this out, at least stock up on a 6-pack of Blue Moon and pregame that way. It's only fitting.
Get it ready, whatever it is. Get everything. Get your Blue Moons, get every kind of pumpkin beer that you possibly can, and sit down on Halloween and just have a day where everything is. For me, it'll be spooky, but maybe for people like Katharine, like spoopy, like, Rugrats Halloween, or like Halloween Town, but only during the day because Calabar can be a little bit scary.
It's true.
I know, that's what's so funny.
I know we jump topics quite a bit, but hey, that's what you like as the audience. We're always keeping it interesting and got to sprinkle a little bit of fun in here and there.
What kind of fun do you want to jump to? Do you want to do sex ed? Glory holes? Porn? Period care? These are all fun topics to me. I think I need a new definition of what the word fun means. I wanted to go off of period care and just to stop calling it feminine hygiene.
Oh my goodness.
There's nothing feminine about bleeding from your genitals for a week. Like that's the basis right there. And on top of that, like there are people who are not feminine who bleed from their genitals.
Yes.
So just like if we have hair care and skin care and wound care, like just period care, like let's not you're having your period. And if people say like, oh, period, like that's more slang, menstrual care.
Yeah.
Fine. Not that big of a deal. A box of tampons has nothing gross in it. It's no different other than where it goes than like Band-Aids. Both clean, both completely wrapped.
So stop taxing the shit out of menstrual care.
They basically say it's not an essential item. It's like a fancy item that you don't need. And like, okay, you know what? I don't have to use tampons. Some people do. I don't have to use pads. Some people do. Unless you want all of us free bleeding everywhere, like leave it alone. Leave it alone. It it should not be taxed as a luxury, and it is something that is necessary to prevent people from getting sick and having to touch my old blood. Okay, let's not do that.
I've been in countless restaurants, rest stops, offices, buildings where in the women's bathroom will be a vending machine essentially for a tampon or a pad, and you gotta fork over like 25 or 50 cents if you want one of those as well.
Who's going, like, if you don't need a tampon, why are you stocking up on them? You know what I'm saying? Like, sure, maybe I need to use one now and I might put two in my bag, but like if someone is taking tampons or pads, it's because they need the tampons or pads.
Yeah.
There's one restaurant in Denver where they put condoms, pads, panty liners, and tampons just in baskets in all restrooms.
That's great.
There's men's, gender neutral, and women's. And in all restrooms, they have these bins, these baskets with that stuff in them. Because there are plenty of people that bleed from their genitals and plenty of people who want or need condoms. It just makes sense to me. Speaking of which, like, don't store a condom in your wallet. Don't store condoms there. They rub through. If you can, some of like the little, what is it? The little Game Boy cases are the perfect size for condoms. They also have actual condom cases that are great for them if you do want to put it in your wallet, back pocket, wherever. They do have an expiration, and that's because of the elastic possibly being more likely to break. It's not just because they want you to buy new ones. It's like that the thing that it's being used for it potentially won't do. Use condoms, use dental dams.
I never see dental dams or female condoms anywhere except Pride. You can pretty much get anything at Pride to allow you to have a healthy and safe sex life. Condoms, heck yeah. You can also get
Mhm.
dental dams and female condoms, and my gosh, it's just not something that's talked about. But you make a great point. It's, something that can condoms aren't just as a condoms should not just be used as a type of pregnancy prevention, essentially. It has a
Right.
bunch of other purposes that allow you to have safe sex, just as the same thing with a dental dam.
I think that one thing not everyone talks about, and it really depends, like, one, where you are in the world and community, but two, even in the queer community, certain groups talk about this and certain groups don't. The term that I'm familiar with is fluid bonding, where you don't use barriers and you're comfortable actually exchanging fluids. I think that that is a great conversation to have with people. One, it brings up the ability for you to be able to talk about what barriers you have, what barriers you're comfortable using, any allergies you have. Two, it can kind of, it feels like a next step
Mhm.
of like, this is something like we're not going to use barriers, which can mean that there are certain emotional implications or mental implications of removing that barrier during sexual activity. Can bring people closer together. It can feel like that's something that's kind of exclusive and so close. But I think it also gives people the opportunity to disclose their STI status, which is something that isn't talked about enough. And as I think is typically used to like scare people. Because like my sex ed was like, you will get an STI or you will get pregnant or both, and you're going to regret it. Like nothing went into the fact that all STIs are treatable and manageable. All of them, every single one of them, treatable and manageable. That doesn't mean that you'll test negative for all of them all the time, but it does mean they're treatable and manageable. So I think that if we broke down stigma there, having the STI conversation would be less scary for people who might test positive for something or have a diagnosis. I also think that talking about whether or not you're going to swap fluids would be something important to do so that if you were engaging in sexual activity with someone, it might be a good time to breach that subject with them instead of a day later. Oh, hey, by the way.
It would be even better to do it before, so that way you can just continue on with your activities and also have full faith and confidence that what you're walking into is consensual and you know how to go about
Mhm.
that to make each other's boundaries feel respected.
Exactly. You need to be aware of the risks. And I don't mean because sex is risky. I just mean that when you're kind of in the moment, sometimes risks come up, or sometimes people want to engage in behaviors that can be seen as risky. You need to be aware of that. You need to be able to, when you are not in the heat of the moment and you want to say, fuck it, anything goes, to have the conversation to set yourself up for success. It has to happen before. Everybody wants a good, happy time.
Yeah, this is where we go back to talking about porn. I'm sure porn will show you in some way. You'll learn more than you've ever wanted to learn through some of the pornography out
I
there.
am excited to share something with you that have been meaning to share with you for years.
Continue.
Crashpadseries.com. Mm-hmm. It's queer porn made by queer people for queer people in in a really good space. There's some stuff that I found, and I don't know if they do it anymore, but if you were interested in filming and everything went through, there was a bunch of steps to go through, but like you could go in with your partner, you could go in with a one night stand, you could, you know, go to someone else who is interested in performing, but like they want like the actual sex. So I will give that to you. But I just wanted to be able to provide that to you because it's exciting to know. And I think, one, I think it's important to know, find porn where you think and you find yourself represented. Two, it's fine to look for things that you are curious about or want to know more about. But if you're going to do that, look for porn made by people who would actually do that thing for fun and not just for show. Also, it's fine and healthy to watch porn. That's good. It's fine. And if you can, go with smaller groups like this. If you can, like pay directly, if you can, to an artist, perhaps by OnlyFans, just for fans, many vids, small curators like this. If you can know that your money is going to the performers, do it.
Because in this household, we're sex worker positive.
Yes, we are. Absolutely. I mean, hell, if anyone listening has any websites or any series or any creators that genuinely focus in queer representation, let us know. Please send it in. Send us links. I'm fine with that. I'll check the emails. I'm all for it. There was a joke where it was, do you have rights or are you a Pornhub category? And that's something that hit me right in the noggin.
Ew. As someone who's never heard that before, that was just oh, I'm a category.
Mm-hmm. So, for anyone who's a category, especially in any of the queer categories, I see you. I'm sorry.
That's very funny.
It hits a little bit, right?
Oof. Yeah.
It gets you. Because no matter what you start thinking of, like and of course people are going to say that not every category, that's fine. It's meant, yes, as a joke, but also it's pretty darn true for a lot of people. There are a lot of platforms who have been looking into potentially changing the way that they curate the videos and pictures on their site. A lot of it has to do with what terms they use for specific individuals
Mm.
and whether using these terms as categories or as ways to refer to other people, is it demeaning, or is it if this person uses this term it's okay, but then they should also be referred to in the, I don't know, honorific instead of diminutive.
Yeah.
So it would be, if you use the word dyke,
Mm-hmm.
that is one thing. If you and I are walking on the street and someone says the word dyke to you, I'm gonna need you to spider monkey me to keep me back. I don't know how to run away from this because it's depressing.
All those who are in the closet, just stay in the closet. It's a better C place to be in than being a category.
I'm excited to continue to see new terms pop up for how people identify, what they do, who with. It's going to be great. And also, it's kind of nice sometimes to just have mystery. Queer. Hi, I'm queer. What flavor? I don't know if I like you enough to tell you that yet. This is a whole conversation that we'd have to have. All right, I think this is where we're going to have to cut people free. I don't think either of us can stand our friends and family hearing any more about this for today. Thanks for hanging out and listening to Unsensational. Wherever you're listening to us, subscribe. You can do it. It's just a button. You tap it. You can rate us. It's like only 2 more taps to do that. And you're gonna rate us 5 stars because why wouldn't you? If you can, please leave a review. Any kind words would be really helpful. Wherever you're listening to us, whatever makes you feel happy. If you want to know what else is going to come out, you want to see pictures of us, you're curious about what Katharine looks like when she had long hair, find and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are unsensationaljk on all platforms. Send us your topic suggestions or any other interesting information via email to unsensationalpodcast@gmail.com, or via the contact page on our website, unsensationalpodcast.com. If you want to give us money, and who doesn't, head over to our patreon.com/unsensationaljk. This has been Unsensational.
Goodbye, people. Stay queer.